Wait a second. Politics divide us? Well, hell yeah. The deep state laughs while we end up fighting like idiots. Yo, what is crackin', you, resilient rebels? Welcome back to Sober Psychology, the podcast where we don't just analyze the madness, we dive headfirst into the storm, call out the BS, and hopefully emerge with truths that will sting like a fresh tattoo. I'm Michael, your host, psychologist in training, a sober dad, and a guy who's seen enough therapy couches to know that politics isn't just dividing us, it's ripping our society to shreds like a pack of wolves on a wounded deer. I'm struggling today, guys. Today we're tackling the division of politics, how this crap divides us more than it actually unites us, the dirty history behind it, how the deep state and other puppet masters get fat off of our infighting. Is that a word? Infighting? And from a Christian lens, how this distraction is straight up Satan's playground. So you could think, like the Screwtape Letters on steroids. If you're exhausted by the left and right brawls, family dinners turned into battlegrounds, or wondering why everything feels like a powder keg, stick around. We're getting raw, historical facts that will probably depress you, psychological studies that'll explain your rage, and hard truths that will most definitely bruise your egos, because pretending that unity is coming without a fight is like expecting sobriety from a bar crawl. So let's unpack this divide and find the glue that sticks us all back together. Welcome to the show where we break down the mental health stigma, navigate sobriety with humor, and prove that it's okay to laugh while you heal. Let's get real, let's get honest, and maybe a little weird. Growth is messy, but you don't have to do it alone. This is Sober Psychology. Hello, friends, family, countrymen, countrywomen. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate last week. I'm not going to make this a political channel. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. And hopefully in 5 years, a year, whatever, you're not going to be able to refer back to this video and tell me that I'm wrong. But I do think, as this channel is catered to the psychological perspective of life and the daily struggles that we all struggle with, I think that given the point in time that we're at now, talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination last week and then moving into the division of politics this week, I think it's ripe right now for the picking. And it's something that I see a lot, and especially the older I get, seeing people divided on politics, friendships ending because they have differing political opinions, marriages breaking because they can't see eye to eye on who the next president should be. And it's just maddening. It's sickening. I've taken kind of a weird stance of not this laissez-faire mentality, but I just don't give any of it enough credit. I don't pay that much attention to politics anymore because it drives me insane. I maintain my own political opinion. I have the things that I believe in and coincide with my biblical beliefs. I get that. But, I just stopped paying attention to it. And I can tell y'all, especially this last year and a half, 2 years, it has made me a lot healthier mentally. When I start diving into politics and start learning about it and digging into, all of the he said, she said, this side of the aisle, that side of the aisle, it makes me just sick, honestly, mentally. It makes me very sick. And then I become this deranged, angry type of human being. I don't really know how to describe it. But all that to say, I felt like this would be a good episode right now to just talk about and dive in. So I'm going to give you statistics on the damages of the political divide, some history on it, talk about who benefits from the political divide, and then for me, everything kind of breaks down to the Screwtape Letters, in my opinion. This is one of those books that impacted me. C.S. Lewis, he just doesn't miss, but in the Screwtape Letters, one thing that I really took away from it, and if you haven't read the Screwtape Letters, by the way, please do. I would highly suggest it. Whether you're a believer or a non-believer, it still is an incredible book. But if you are a believer and you understand a brief concept of like spiritual warfare, that book kind of opens you up to seeing how the devil works. And I think that a lot of us see, the movies that, The Exorcist and all this kind of crazy stuff. And honestly, I just don't believe that's how Satan works. I don't fully, obviously that can happen and probably has happened, but I think it's just division. I think it's just this slow division, death by 1,000 cuts. Little by little, you just get kind of taken away from God in that, more distraction. And the Bible talks about it, how demons will appear in the form of distractions, and it's all about procrastination. It's all about doubt. It's all about these little thoughts and concepts that are put into your head. But then also, we're going to talk about how politics has forced us to see extremes. And if you read the Screwtape Letters, it's crazy because it talks about that being like the devil's playground. So I'm doing my best here to try and shed light on it and gain what little bit of understanding I'm allowed to have in all of it. Another good source, which I don't talk about, I didn't think about it until after I wrote the script, but there's a movie called Nefarious, and it came out 2 years ago, a year ago, and it is incredible. It's deep, it's not action-packed, it's not crazy, but the dialogue in it, it's wild. It's wild. If you haven't seen it, I would highly suggest it. It basically shows a man who is being used by the devil or a horde of demons. I don't really remember which one, but they talk about society, they talk about us as human beings, and it's crazy how accurate it is and how seemingly accurate it is. But all that to say, that was a very long intro. We're going to go around and say hello to everybody. Hello, welcome to the channel. Hey, how are you, cutie? Welcome. Hey, what are you doing? Thank you for being here. And you, way up there, I appreciate you, even though you sit in the back every freaking episode. So let's go ahead and dive into section 1 of all of this. This is going to be the history of political divide. We've been here before, and it's getting worse. So sorry to just start it off that way. United States, especially the polarization from the Civil War scars to today's hate fest, history is going to repeat itself if we let it. So let's go ahead and just rewind the tape on this political circus nonsense, because division is not new. It is baked into human drama like yeast in bread. Why would I pick that? I don't know. I'm tired, okay? Anyways, in the US, the OG divide was the Civil War era. You had slavery, you had secession, you had civil rights, which was splitting the nation with this intense moral fervor, as scholars will talk about. But you fast forward to the 1950s, 1970s, that era, and Congress voted across party lines 60% of the time on hot issues, a golden age of bipartisanship. But oh boy, since the 90s, it's nosedived big time. Democrats are left, Republicans are right, and now they're further apart ideologically than in 50 years. So this is according to the Pew reports. So what flipped the switch? What all of a sudden happened, right? Scholars point to the 1960s cultural wars. You got Vietnam, you got the civil rights, which was morphing into today's identity battles. That was the early seeding of it all, in my opinion. Then you've got the whole rural and urban splits, which that widened in the late 90s with, whites and sticks going red while cities were blue, and it was just this weird socioeconomic divide even. But then you look at it globally, and you could think like ancient Rome. You had class divides that led to civil wars, emperors rising up on chaos, and that's just how that worked. Or you could think Europe post-World War II, and it was like the Cold War splits birthed Iron Curtains. And then the hard truth with all of this is that division is a power play. Okay? Division is a power play. Elites stoke it to gain control. And in sobriety terms, it's like cravings. You ignore the root of it all, you ignore why the cravings are happening, and then it eventually will consume you. America is like a bad marriage. It started with fireworks, and now we're fighting over who gets the kids on the weekends, and the kids being the states, I guess. If we don't learn from history, we're doomed to return to this shit show. Promise. Just buckle up. And Civil War to now, moral fervor turned to meme wars. It's weird how it shifted, but politics divides because we let it. That's the only reason that it divides us. All right. It's kind of weird. I just saw this today, right before I recorded. If somebody had posted a meme, and it's like getting offended by what someone says on the internet is like intentionally walking through dog crap on the sidewalk. Like, we just get to this point where we buy into what they're feeding us. I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat. I'm not going to tell you that Bigfoot's real. I'm not going to tell you that aliens exist. I don't know. Why do I care? It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect my life in any capacity. However, I do know that if you look at the agendas pushed by the deep state, by all of these other entities out there, the whole course of action is to gain power for themselves. And what's the best way to do that? Divide the nation. Divide the people. We talked about this last week. The last time that I remember, I'm 36 years old, but the last time that I remember feeling like I lived in an America where everybody was together was right after 9/11. It was like a gut punch and everybody got it. And we all kind of came together in this weird way, this unspoken way of like unity. And then you get the wars that begin to happen, and then you get all of this agenda pushed by politics, and then the booming of technology, and it's crazy how quickly we get divided. But how weak are we when we are? That's the wild part about it. You look at professional teams, even with professional sports teams that may have the absolute best player in their category, in their anything, period. You go look at Babe Ruth's team and the Yankees and their historic runs that they made with, whatever, any team in history, period, is what I'm trying to get to. They could have the best player, and if their team is not cohesive, they will lose. That's just the reality of how we are as a nation. It is unfortunate that there are issues that divide us, but where are we going to be at our weakest? When nobody's getting along, when you're fighting with your neighbor. Like, that's when we become the weakest. And other countries are going to take advantage of that. Other entities are going to take advantage of that. The devil is taking advantage of that. So that's just something to pay attention to. Section 2, how the deep state and others benefit from a divided society. Nice segue. Look at there. Deep state loves division. And honestly, in a lot of what I'm saying, like for me, the deep state is almost like demonic, like it's just that sickening. But anyways, deep state loves division. Distracted masses means unchecked power. So this is where we become the sheep, right? We got to wake up to all this. And again, I'm not trying to cause a riot. I'm not trying to tell you to go storm the Capitol. That is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to just wake up to the idea that without the human connection, without us being on the same page in some capacity, even if you disagree with someone, at least treat them as a human being. You're still living on the same planet that I'm living on. We're just going to completely be weakened all the time. So here's the juicy conspiracy meets reality bit of all of this. Why does division pay dividends? For the shadows. The deep state, which is basically that unelected bureaucracy of intel, military, and corporates, it absolutely thrives on chaos. There was a 2025 article that argues that a divided America needs a deep state for stability, keeping the ship afloat while politicians bicker. But you flip it, division distracts from real power grabs. While we're yelling about borders or pronouns, they're consolidating control. Musk and Ramaswamy's Doge push, that whole push exposes how bureaucracy balloons completely unchecked. All right. And then others can cash in on all this too. Media giants rake in ad bucks from outrage, porn, polarizing. Polarization is their golden goose, basically. And then you got big tech algorithms that amplify the extremes. And this is according to psychological studies on echo chambers. But then you look at the corporates of all of this. The divided workers don't unionize or demand fair pay. Historical echo, the Roman emperors used bread and circuses to distract from corruption. And today it's Netflix and news feeds. And the psychological fact, polarization erodes trust in institutions, making us ripe for manipulation. If you're spewing hate online, you're the deep state's unpaid intern. Division is like a bad divorce. Lawyers, which we'll say are the elites, they get rich while you fight over crumbs. Unite or get played. It's your call. All right. Divided society that's the deep state's dream. We fight, they feast. You stop being their puppet. Stop fighting all the time. I feel like a parent. I only have one kid. I don't get to say that just yet. But anyways, section 3, The psychological facts, why division hooks us like a drug. Okay, polarization psychology for you here. Your brain absolutely loves hate. We've alluded to this in a couple of episodes, but your brain is attracted to hate and negativity for some reason. I don't like it either. I don't know why, but it is. You break the cycle or you stay addicted to the outrage, right? And, from a psychologist's couch, you would basically understand that the division is a mind melt. It's wired into our brains like a bad habit. Affective polarization is hating the other side more than loving yours. That has absolutely skyrocketed in our society, and studies have been proving this over and over again. There's a 2024 psychiatrist.com piece that links it to social division, or that links social division to eroding democracy. All right, and why, you might ask? It's because cognitive biases, which is basically where we overestimate the opponent's extremism, it's where these misconceptions happen. I'm trying to figure out how to wrap my mind around all of it. But according to Carnegie research, voters misperceive, I don't know if that's an actual word, but they misperceive ideological gaps, especially the engaged people in all of this. Right? In Nature's 2024 review, polarization is the foundation of collective engagement, which is broadening minds to extremes. And like I alluded to at the beginning of all of this with the Screwtape Letters, that's the devil's playground, is when we're forced to go to these extremes, right? Studies show how the extremes harm health. Ideologically, outliers have worse mental and physical states. APA's Keith Payne explains this. It's tribalism amplified by media, which is turning politics into identity wars. And in sobriety, divisions like cravings. Dopamine from the outrage keeps you hooked, and you just keep going back for more. The hard truth of all of this, if you're more loyal to party than principles, you're a cult member, not a citizen. I'm gonna go ahead and say that for you again, and we can get a little bit closer if you want to. If you are more loyal to a party than you are principles, you're a cult member. That's it. You're not a citizen. You're a cult member. And I've been there. I get it. It's very easy to do, right? Your brains on politics are like junkies chasing highs, but the crash is civil war instead of, overdose, I guess. If you want to break it, seek common ground or just stay polarized and pathetic. That's what they want you to do. That's where other people begin to thrive. You hate the other side. That's affective polarization, your brain's dumb drug. Detox now. Just do it. All right? Section 4 of all of this is going to be the Christian perspective. This is where the devil wins in division. Okay? From the Bible, from the good book, division is where the devil dances. And then you can read, like I said earlier, the Screwtape Letters absolutely nails this. Screwtape advises Wormwood to mix politics with faith, turning Christianity into a hobby that distracts from real spirituality. Think about that for a second. Turning Christianity into a hobby that distracts from real spirituality. Politics become idolatry. And this is according to C.S. Lewis. You tempt with extremes, and that's what they've done. That's what media does. That's what we see all the time. That's what we have to believe. That's why everything is left and right. Nobody can get along. I can't even enjoy golf anymore because it's either PGA or live. Why would you take golf from me? That's all I want to watch. Look at this. Look at this. I got a golf bag behind me. It's right there. Why would you take that away? I'm just trying to enjoy some golf, and I can't even enjoy that. You're either live or PGA. You're either this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. Are we not seeing what's happening here? Go look at anybody over the age of 40 that's ranting on Facebook. It's all of these old people, no offense to anybody above the age of 40, but the minds have been warped and corrupted, and all of a sudden we think, you know what we should do? We should post a polarizing article just to go ahead and start an argument and let us know where we plant our flag. Let's put that on Facebook so we can have everybody react to it in a negative way or a positive way. And if they react to it in a negative way, then all of a sudden I can see who's my friend. What are we doing? What are we doing? You see how quickly this begins to happen. I can't even get on Twitter. Like I try and get on Twitter or X or whatnot to do a lot of like pop psychology research, kind of see what everybody's talking about. You can't even get on there. It's freaking negative, nonstop negativity. And it's disgusting. It's sad because not because those people are disgusting and sad, but because I understand how easy it is to give in to that. I understand how quickly that becomes this wildfire and you get attached to this cause, and then all of a sudden your Christianity becomes a hobby instead of it being the priority, right? The idea of politics and what you support and whatnot, that should be your hobby, not the other way around, right? But then we begin to get tempted with extremes, and we make it a means to hate, not to help. The Bible is very clear on this. A house divided against itself cannot stand, Mark 3:25. And then Ephesians 4:3 urges unity in spirit. Division is the enemy's tool. And then you go and look at the other podcasters, the other big name people that are out there talking about this, and it's a consistent theme, right? Like Matt Walsh rants about cultural wars distract us from faith. Jordan Peterson even ties it to biblical chaos, face the division with voluntary suffering. And then Mel Robbins is talking about control your reactions and align with Philippians anti-anxiety. Right? The hard pill of all of this, if politics trumps your piety, Satan is winning. Screwtape's plan in action. That's just what it was, okay? The devil is like a DJ at a divided party. He plays hits like hate and hypocrisy while we dance to destruction. We got to get to a point where we're uniting, okay? United States of America. The people united are much stronger. This is why we've always been tribal, and then because of technology and because of all these agendas being pushed, the whole point of this was isolation. You can believe what you want and say what you want, do what you want. I'm not trying to sit here and cause controversy with all of this. But what do you think the purpose behind all the COVID mandates were? Trying to keep you inside, don't go out and support other businesses, work from home, stay distant from other people. It's just isolating you. Are you at your strongest when you're not with your people? Are you at your strongest when you're not with your tribe? Community is one of the biggest aspects of human nature, of human existence. And then you take that away, you become so weak and easily manipulated. And what are you doing? You're doom scrolling your phone, paying attention to media that's just constantly being uploaded into your brain, all negativity, pushing you to extremes. Christianity becomes a hobby, politics becomes your priority. It's kind of weird, is it not? Unite in Christ or let Lucifer laugh. That's my advice for you. The Screwtape on politics, as far as going back to the Screwtape Letters, Screwtape talking about politics, mix faith with fury and watch Christians crumble. Do not be the devil's dupe in all of this, okay? So wrapping all of this up, division wins when we let it. You unite or you get used. Your society depends on it. Your life depends on it, right? Politics divides us, right? I even looked at how it affects relationships, and there's a lot of studies out there about people who have differing political views and how that affects relationships negatively. But if you look overall, people who are obsessed with politics have like a 60-something% less satisfaction in relationships in general, romantic, friendships, whatnot. And don't put me down on that because I think those numbers may be a little wrong, but you can go look it up for yourself. It affects every aspect of who you are and how you interact, how you think. It's just this pool of negativity. I'll be honest with y'all. One of the things that like I'm real bad about, and I hate to admit this because I'm embarrassed, but like I went through a phase where I was watching like terrible death videos, I guess, or like car crashes or like things like that. And it was out of morbid curiosity at first. But then you realize that like you watch this first thing that shocks you and you're like, oh God, that's awful. And then you watch the next one and then the next one. And then 30 minutes later, you've been watching people dying for 30 minutes. What do you think that does to you psychologically? Neurologically, it shapes your brain. You become more numb to awful things. Right? And I think that was one of the things that I noticed with Charlie Kirk's assassination video. I didn't know what I was about to watch. And when I saw it, it was shocking. It was shocking and it was painful to watch, but it was also scary how used to that I am. All right. And I think a lot of us saw that. Maybe I see from a societal perspective, a lot of people reacted in that same way. You become so numb to this negative thing that should just scare you off. You play a video like that in the 1960s. You know how people reacted to just the radio broadcast of JFK being shot? Imagine posting the video and everyone's seeing it all over the place. Like the shock that would bring, because people aren't used to seeing things like that, right? I'm going off on a tangent here, but basically politics divide because it's profitable. For the deep state, for the media, for the devil himself. We have traced the history from Civil War to now, psychological hooks keeping us hooked, and Christian warnings from the Screwtape. The hard truth is that unity takes work, but division is death. Unity takes work, but division is death. Everything works out if we bridge gaps. Faith, facts, action. Start to learn to care about people again, even if you don't agree with them, right? Homework for the week, reach across the divide. Talk to someone who has completely differing views from you. Talk to someone you don't agree with. I could tell you as a Christian, one of the healthiest things for me to do is communicate with an atheist, a non-believer, someone who doesn't believe in the same theology that I believe in. That is one of the healthiest things for me to do, to be open-minded in that. Fantastic. I don't like talking about politics because everyone wants to argue, but that is a healthy thing too, to hear someone else's perspective, to be open-minded in all of this. Not necessarily to change my views, but just to hear what they're saying, to treat them like a human being. All right? So anyways, reach across and talk to someone who has differing views. Reach across that divide. Talk, not troll. Hear me out on that one. And then share how it went in the comments. I'd love to find out how it went for you. As always, thank you for tuning in to Sober Psychology. Like, subscribe, share, and until next time, bridge the gap. Stay sober, stay united. Please, keep your head up, keep your heart open, and go help somebody. Love you guys.